Just joining us, thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Chantel Smith. I'm the coordinator for recruitment and programming here in the Honors College at the University of Maryland. And right now, we're actually presenting our last presentation of the week. Yay! A general overview of our University Honors Program, which will be led by Assistant Director Kaylee Maraca and Director Dr. Stephen Blotty with some of our current University Honors students. So just a couple of notes. Make sure to keep yourself on mute until for the duration of the presentation. After the presentation is over, we will open up for Q&A and allow some of you guys to come off mute if you feel so inclined to do so. There will be admissions staff or honors admissions staff along with the current students in the chat area. So start asking your questions as of right now if you want. You can start asking your questions now and we'll get to you and hopefully be able to answer all of your questions. We will be recording today's session. And so it will be on our website within the next few days if you need to go back to review any information. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and pass the mic over so you can hear more about Honors College's largest program, University Honors.
Thanks, Chantel, and good to see so many of you here tonight. My name is Stephen Blotty. As Chantel says, I'm the Director of University Honors, and we're joined by Kaylee Maraca, who I will introduce properly here in a second, as well as some students. So let me give you a sense of our plan here for tonight. We're gonna take about 15 minutes to share with you some information about UH, as we call it. And then we will get as quickly as we can to the Q&A with a number of our students who are here with us, who will, as ever, be, I think, your best source of information. So we'll want to hear from them just as soon as you're done listening to me and Kaylee talk. So bear with us here for a minute. We'll show you some pretty pictures along the way. So as I say, my name is Stephen Blotty. This is our staff team in UH, not all of whom are here with us, but it gives you a sense of who in our community are working with students and faculty alike to bring you the two-year experience that we're here to tell you about tonight. This is a snapshot of our faculty, which at least gives you a sense, I think, of our scale, if nothing else. This group of people are busy in classrooms day in and day out, working with all of our students, and we're really thrilled to work with them. I don't have headshots of our students who are with us here tonight, but as I say, they'll be on camera here in not too long. So let me share with you just a little bit about the program at a fairly high altitude. We trace our roots back to the mid-1960s when honors education was really introduced on the campus, on the University of Maryland campus. And I think it's important to say that we have recently undergone a pretty significant transformation, and we're really excited to share with you what we look like today, which is a very reimagined program from the one that was introduced all those decades ago. We are, as Chantel mentioned, large. So every year we welcome into UH about 500 students, give or take. Last year we brought in just north of 500 students. And we're a two-year program, which means that at any given time, roughly 1,000 students are actively pursuing their honors citation, which is the transcript designation that you receive when you complete our program. We're about 50-50 in our gender makeup, and I want to note, I guess, of all the other data points here, I guess I want to note the 86 majors. So at the University of Maryland offers somewhere around 100 majors. You can get 100 different degrees from the University of Maryland. I think it's a little north of that. But what I think the number of majors represented in our student body shows about us is that we're a very broad tent. And you will, perhaps even more so than in some of our more narrowly themed programs in the Honors College, you will really traffic among folks who are from all walks of academic life. And that's also reflected in our curriculum too. And then last, but perhaps far from least, this is our mission statement, and a statement really about the ethos of our program. I will not, I promise you, read this to you. I encourage you to read it on our website. I've singled out just a handful of words and phrases here that I think at a glance maybe give you a sense of what our principles are, what our priorities are, that we are, as I say, a program of that welcomes students from all backgrounds and disciplines. We emphasize multidisciplinarity. That's a really important thing for us. We do a lot in the way of collaboration. The program, as we conceive of it, is very much co-created with students, staff, and faculty alike. And we are, it is important to say, a very intentionally, deliberately inclusive community in UH. So that's the program at 30,000 feet. Let me share with you a little bit about the academic program, the academic aspect of our program. So there's really three characteristics of our academic program that I think capture what it is we aim to do in UH, and they are breadth through multidisciplinarity, depth through structure, and flexibility through choice. If you had to sum up our academic program in three quick phrases, that's how I would go about doing it. By breadth through multidisciplinarity, what I mean is that the courses we offer come from faculty who themselves come from every academic college and school on the campus. So there are 13 or 14 academic colleges and schools, and in our curriculum you'll find courses taught by faculty from every last one of them, whether that's arts and humanities, behavioral and social sciences, engineering, computer, mathematical, natural sciences, architecture, journalism, public policy, you name it, those courses you will find in our curriculum. As I say, we have students from all majors pursuing their citations with us. And we really are a program that's organized around general education requirements. So I think one of the things that is important to note is how in pursuing your citation within UH, you will simultaneously be satisfying many of your gen ed requirements. And that's a really key, I think, component of, or a key dimension of the program, and the ability of our students to be able to complete our program, because you're sort of double and triple dipping all the way through. So by structure, what I mean is our courses, the actual courses that you will take. So that begins with our Gateway Seminar, which is a 1-credit course that all entering freshmen take in UH. We're big on navigational metaphors in UH, and so the compass is an important idea for us. And this gives you kind of a snapshot of some of the things that you'll be doing in that course. That course is really about orienting you to the campus, orienting you to the program, and thinking about your time in the program on the front end, and orienting you to yourself, your goals, your ambitions for your time at Maryland and beyond, and with one another. All entering freshmen, as I say, take this course. So it's, among other things, it's just a nice opportunity for our students to get to know one another and to begin to build community. Now the meat and potatoes of our curriculum. It is about structure for us. So our curriculum is organized around really 2 course structures. The first we call a cluster, a thematic cluster. And the idea here is to take a particular concept or theme and to engage that theme from different disciplinary perspectives. I'll give you an example of that in a second. At the core of each cluster is what is known as an I-Series course. I-Series is a gen ed requirement of all students on the campus. That course is in each cluster is required, and then you can choose which seminar or seminars you want to take in addition to that I-Series course. So an example of a cluster that's actually just concluding this semester is the topic of revolution. At the core of that cluster is a course on, it's actually a course on the American Revolution, but it's a historical revolution course. And then you can see the options of other seminars that you can take as part of that cluster. Well, I'll say more about clusters in a second. The other key structure in our, oh no, I'm not going to talk about tracks yet. I'm going to talk about clusters. So this is a indication of the clusters that are running now and returning next year. So as I indicated, our clusters run for 2 years and then cycle out. And this is a way of keeping our faculty and the themes that they're addressing topical and timely. So there are 4 clusters that we're offering right this semester that are concluding at the end of this year. Revolution is one of them. 4 of them we're offering now, began with us this year, and will be offered for another year next year. And those are the ones you see here at the top: Information and Power, Virtually Human, In a Word, and Body Politics. And then just this week, we announced the next set of clusters. Literally today was the 4th consecutive day that we announced the next set of clusters. This is an important week for us in the program. We call it UH Week. And at the heart of that week is the reveal of these new clusters. So those new clusters that begin this fall are entitled Freedom at Stake, Systemic Racism, Global Crises, Sustainable Futures, and Redesigning Life. It gives you a sense, I hope, of the breadth of issues and topics and disciplines that you'll be exposed to and engaged in our curriculum. Now I can tell you about tracks. So our theory and practice tracks are the other key structure in our curriculum. The idea here is a little similar to the clusters, but also a little different. So again, we have a couple of different courses that are organized around a theme. The idea here isn't so much about disciplinarity as much as it is about methodology. So the idea is to engage a theme or a topic from a theoretical, kind of academic, scholarly perspective, and then to take a different perspective that's one of a practitioner, somebody who's engaged in that work kind of on the ground in the real world outside of the academy, outside of the university. So an example of that is our Climate and Crisis track. This is a 2-course track where the theory course is around climate ethics and issues of environmental justice. And the practice course is a course on really climate policy. And it's led by somebody who is, among other things, a lobbyist, somebody who spends a lot of his time in front of Congress trying to advocate for certain kinds of legislation. And that's another important aspect of tracks that I want to draw your attention to. Tracks are really our way of bringing into the UH classroom faculty who, many of whom have, full-time day jobs, typically in the district, who are engaged in very practical ways in work that concerns the topic they teach about in our program. So DJ Rosenthal is an example of that. He's actually a UH alum, somebody who rose to prominence in the Obama administration, not least as the director for counterterrorism in the National Security Council. And his track, we have not offered yet, but we'll be announcing that later this year. So you got a sneak peek here of something that's coming up beginning this fall. Then finally, in our structured curriculum, we have a course called Vantage Point Seminar. This is a 2-credit course. It's sort of a capstone course at the end of your 2nd year, maybe the beginning of your junior year. And it's really about orienting you toward your life, as it were, post-UH and even post-Maryland. So this is a kind of glimpse of some of the topics you take up in that course. There's a lot of mentoring that goes on in that course, and it prepares you for what is to come after UH. You take that group of classes, a gateway seminar, 2 classes from one cluster, 2 classes from another cluster, or instead of a second cluster, one of our theory and practice tracks. And then you take our 2-credit Vantage Point seminar. That sums to 15 credits, and that earns you your citation at the end of those 2 years. We're very much oriented also around preparing you for what comes after UH. That's really what Vantage Point is about. And that includes everything from independent research you might conduct on the campus, honors programs in our departments and colleges across the campus, study abroad, internships, scholarships. You see here one of our students who graduated last year, Natalia Stepanova, who is now over in Edinburgh as a Marshall Scholar, our alumni network. These are all things that are sort of post-citation in the program. Last aspect of our academic program is really about choice. I think another defining trait of UH is that our curriculum is not predetermined. You come into UH, you'll take that gateway seminar in your first semester, and you'll take that Vantage Point seminar in probably your 4th or 5th semester, late sophomore, early junior year. But between those 2 poles, you have enormous flexibility in which clusters and tracks you choose, which courses within those clusters, what the order of those classes might be. All of our classes, with a very small number of exceptions, are non-sequential. You can take them, in some cases, separated by semesters. All of that is really important because you're going to find quickly how busy you are as you pursue all manner of ambitions. And this gives you, we pride ourselves in offering you the sort of flexibility that you need in order to pursue those ambitions. Now I will take a break. I will hand it over to my colleague, Kaylee, who's going to tell you a little bit about student life in UH.
Great, thanks, Stephen. Hey, everybody, I'm so glad you're here. We are getting your questions in the chat. We'll answer some of those in the chat, but also make sure to circle back to them at the end as well. And I'm really excited just to talk to you about the sort of living part of the living learning experience for University Honors. Because one of the great parts about being in such a large program, as we keep mentioning, is that there's a huge network of support to help students succeed, and also a lot of great ways to get involved and to contribute to building the program to be better. So because in UH, we know that the experiences you're going to have outside the classroom are sometimes just as important as the ones you're going to have inside the classroom. We want to make sure that people are able to get connected with mentors, leadership opportunities. We have 2 student organizations within University Honors, and probably 7 or 8 different student leadership positions that students can get involved with in order to help us build the program, to mentor incoming students, for incoming students to find a mentor, to help them adjust to the university transition. And all of those opportunities are available to all of our students within the program. One of the things that we are really proud of is our University Honors House program. Because we are such a large program, we appreciate that everybody gets to work with a lot of different folks from different majors and backgrounds. But one way that we help to build community in such a large program is by grouping students into one of these 4 houses when they enter the program. So they're called House Altair, House de Nebula, House Altanen, and House Shaula. And the houses are named actually after navigational stars. And they serve really as a home away from home for students. They're designed really to be ideal for building friendships, for making connections, for starting to network with students across the university, and also having fun. You'll see on the screen, there's sort of the picture of the historic cup with the University Honors logo engraved in it. Every year, students, by participating in parts of the program, earn points towards their house. And at the end of the year, there's a house cup that's awarded to the winning house for that year. So our winners last year were House Shaula, and we're waiting anxiously to see if they will repeat their victory in the House Cup for this year. So generally, though, there's just a lot to do in University Honors, and much like the curriculum where you're able to pick and choose and there's a lot of flexibility, there's a lot you can do in UH, and you can really pick and choose what you want to do. And you'll really hear that from our students when they get to start talking about their opportunities and their ways to get involved. We really think that you'll be able to find your place and I'm just laughing because I'm seeing the chats come in asking about where University Honors students are going to be housed, and it's making me smile because we're really excited that this is going to be our first year that our entire University Honors first year class can be housed within our new home, which is the Heritage Community on North Campus. And the Heritage Community consists of 2 residence halls. The first is called Johnson Whittle, which actually has not opened yet. It will open in fall of 2022. And the second building is Pion Chen, which was open fall of 2021. And the third building in that set is the Yahed Tamitzi Dining Hall. And the dining hall is really special to us because it's not only going to be a state-of-the-art dining facility, it is also our new home in the UH Commons. So we are going to have space within that building in between the residence halls where UH students live, to be able to really build community and also to sort of be the center of that academic home on North Campus. And you can see Stephen's flipping through pictures for you. So you're able to get some view of the renderings and some real pictures of that space as it's come together. The Commons, the space that we will be a part of, will have actually seminar rooms where our gateway seminars, so our first year seminar and a lot of those seminar courses will take place in. So if you're living with University Honors, you'll just go downstairs, hop across the courtyard, and be able to enter into your University Honors classes, or go into the dining hall and walk down the stairs before your class to be able to go to it. There's going to be great event space for us to be able to do some programming, some networking, to host our leadership meetings and programs. Also some study areas for students where they can study between classes, or rent out small huddle rooms to be able to do group projects, work with their faculty individually in that area. And all of our UH faculty, our assistant clinical professors and our staff will be in that space too. So we'll be close to the residence halls and accessible to help and support students during their time at UMD. Stephen, anything that you wanted to else that you wanted to make sure gets highlighted within that?
No, I don't think so. You did a great job. That's Heritage Community in a nutshell, and I'm sure we can answer some questions once we get to the Q&A.
Absolutely. And I've heard you do that spiel so many times now that I think I've sort of absorbed it. But lastly, I wanted to come back to what Stephen said about co-creation, because I think one of the benefits of University Honors really being reinvented in 2020 is that we're still really building a strong student support network. We have great programs, but folks like our University Honors Student Board are in the room with us, helping to make decisions about future curriculum. They're helping us to figure out the future of University Honors Service projects, which we're launching this semester and really proud of. And it's just a great opportunity to be able to meet people from across the university, and to be able to really make a difference in a program. Another thing I'm really excited about is we're launching our Leadership Medallion program. So students will be able to, by being involved in leadership within University Honors and the university, earn a leadership credential with University Honors. We're calling it the Leadership Medallion program because medallion recipients will actually get a medal that they're able to wear at graduation, to show their engagement and their work with University Honors. So lots of opportunities to build leadership skills, lots of opportunities to get involved and to be supported at all levels, all within sort of this network of flexibility. So you can attend and be involved in whatever ways you want to within the program, which I think is really great. So summarizing, we're about to turn it over to question and answer. I'm going to let our students introduce themselves. They really are the stars of the show. They're the ones you want to hear from because they know probably more about the program than sometimes we even do. But just summarizing, university honors across the board, we are a big program, but we provide lots of different opportunities for students to connect with faculty, staff, and students in unique ways. People meet really close-knit groups of friends on their floors. There's lots of opportunities to go off campus on excursions with faculty. And like I said before, lots of opportunities to make an impact on campus. So we hope you'll consider UH. And with that, we'll turn it over for questions. But first, I'm going to have our student board introduce themselves, if that's okay. So Grace, we'll just kind of go in the order on the screen. So Grace, do you want to start out by introducing yourself, and we'll just go down the list?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Grace. I'm a sophomore government and politics major and a Spanish minor from Annapolis, Maryland. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm in House Altair.
Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine. I'm a senior electrical engineering major. I'm originally from Clarksburg, Maryland, which is in Montgomery County, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
Hi, everyone. I'm Morgan Love. I'm a junior. I think the majors got a little mixed up. I'm double majoring in criminal justice and psychology. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm from Baltimore County, Maryland.
Sorry,
Hi,
Morgan. I think that was my fault. I put this together hastily. I apologize.
No, that's
for
okay.
that.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ellie. I am a government and politics and public policy double major with a minor in stats. So for those of you asking about multiple majors and minors, I'm your gal. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a senior and I'm from Ellicott City, Maryland.
Great. Thank you all. And while I start to organize some of these really specific questions, I'm just hoping that each of you, we can go in the same order, can just talk a tiny bit about your overall UH experience, some things that you want to make sure folks here know about your time, whether that's been your involvement or something that really impacted you. And while you do that, I'll make sure we're ready to go with a list of questions. Okay. Go ahead, Grace.
Sure. So I would definitely, UH was a huge part of my college experience because I lived in Hagerstown last year, which allowed me to meet a ton of people who are also in my classes. And even when I'm not living there, I still see them around campus. And it's nice because I feel like I kind of have a smaller group within the huge student body at UMD. But I've really loved the courses I've been able to take within UH. I took the Identity and Intersectionality cluster and also the Transforming Maryland Theory and Practice track. And those both allowed me to kind of explore things that are way outside of the field of government and politics. Also, something new is that I'm on the University Honors Student Board on the Membership and Communications Committee. And so I'm really looking forward to that and planning events throughout the year.
So my experience is pretty similar, even though I am a senior and I wasn't actually involved in the revamped curriculum. So I'm not in, a certain cluster or a certain track, but the reason why I decided to choose UH as an electrical engineering major was because I knew that I would be taking pretty STEM heavy classes and I wanted to sort of balance that out and also just take classes outside of STEM and just have a wider perspective. So I really enjoyed the classes that I got to take. I took a lot of things that I didn't expect to take in the humanities, social sciences, and I really enjoyed my classes. And I also lived in Hagerstown my freshman year. So I met a lot of people who were both in the same or in the engineering school and also outside of it. And it was just a really nice community and a great way to meet new people.
Similar to what everyone else has said thus far, I was also in Hagerstown freshman year, which I really liked. I got to meet everyone from all different majors, which is the reason that I joined University Honors, to be with people from all different walks of life, all different interests. So I loved that. And similar to what Catherine was saying as well, I loved the honors classes that I took. And as was stated earlier, with the flexibility and the choice, I was nodding my head as Mr. Blatty was explaining it, because there was just so much freedom. And I got to, I'm, like I said, psychology and criminology, criminal justice, but I got to take courses about, there was one about risk communication and one about literally where my homework was to exercise. And I just absolutely loved it. So I can't speak more highly of it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just going to echo what everyone else said, but I also lived in Hagerstown, fantastic experience, made a bunch of really, really fantastic friends. What really drew me to UH was, as everyone else has said, the flexibility. I got to take classes from practitioners in the field. I took a national security class from someone who's served on the National Security Council, which is kind of unbeatable. And the biggest impact that UH has had for me was being able to be an ambassador and on the University Honor Student Board and be involved in making changes to the program and improving the university experience for everyone else. So I would say that in addition to just the classes, the ability to take your leadership to the next level is something that's really special about UH, and I hope everyone takes advantage of it.
Great, thanks everyone. I'm looking back through the questions and I see that our ambassadors have been doing a great job of actually answering the questions as we're going in the chat. So thanks for that, y'all. But I'll walk back through a few of them just so we make sure if there's additional questions for those that we're making sure to hit them all. So I think one of our first questions was about whether or not students have study every cluster or sort of get to choose them. I think we probably covered that. But just to be really clear, there are 8 opportunities to take different clusters and then also the theory and practice tracks, and students will pick 2. So they'll either pick 1 cluster and 1 theory and practice track or 2 clusters that they're interested in taking for a total of those 4 courses plus the gateway course and the Vantage Point seminar. And that's the 2-year curriculum for University Honors. The second, a lot of the questions came in before we got to the slides about where folks are going to live. So I'm going to make a note to move this to the top of the section for next time. But just to make it clear, all incoming students will have the opportunity to live in the heritage community, all incoming first-year students. So will be either placed in Pyeongchang or Johnson Whittle if they choose to live with UH. Now, University Honors is not a program that requires students to live with us in their first year. So if you choose to be with University Honors and you do not want to live in our community, that is an option. And we often get a question next about roommates, and just want to make it clear that within the University Honors community, because we're in the new space, we have a limited amount of beds. So if you are living in the University Honors community, you will have to find a roommate or be assigned a roommate within the University Honors program. And so just to make sure that folks know and are clear about that, there is some flexibility there as far as you can choose to live with University Honors or not. But if you do choose to live with us, your roommate will be within University Honors as well. Stephen, do you want to talk a little bit? There's a question about that some of our students started to answer, but are students in UH able to graduate within 4 years, and what sort of is the general track for that?
Yeah, I think here this point about choice and flexibility is really important to us because, as I say, you're going to get busy fast. You're going to get involved in all kinds of things that are outside of UH, which is totally fine. That we want you to do that. You're going to, we just know from the data, you're going to pick up a major that you didn't expect when you came in, and suddenly you've got some additional requirements that are associated with that. You're going to pick up a minor. You're going to decide you want to study abroad in your junior year, or you want to take an internship that's going to keep you away from campus for a semester, say. And all of that is important as you develop over the course of the next 4 years. And UH is designed to allow you to be able to do that. So our 4-year graduation rate is, now we have some engineers whose programs take longer than 4 years. So, but it's something like 96% or something like that, right? So you need to satisfy those requirements in order to graduate. The fact that you can be, advancing toward your citation at the same time as you're completing the coursework that you'd have to do anyway, is another aspect of the program that enables you to complete in those 4 years.
And I'll just also point out, we have 2 of our ambassadors who introduced themselves in the chat as being double majors. And I think one of you also has a minor. So you definitely can, Ellie, you definitely can make sure to pull together, depending on those majors, whatever plan is most convenient for you. I'm trying to see if there's any good questions for students, but let's get through a few more logistical ones first. Someone asked about house placement. The house placement is somewhat strategic and somewhat random. And we don't love to share the secrets of house placement in advance, but you'll be placed in a house with other students that are first-year students, and that's introduced in some sort of a fun way in August before the beginning of the semester. So you will receive a sort of email announcement that you get to open that will reveal your house for you. And so we'll leave it at that for now and let there be a little bit of mystery. But I will say the houses they're based completely, groupings of students that then become a community. It's not done by major. It's not done by geographic area that folks are coming from. It really is designed to help people to continue to have that sort of diverse experience within those houses. And so they're not grouped by major or anything like that. For students, I guess, a question that I saw that I'm going to adjust so that you can help us out a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about a class, maybe one or two of you talk about, and Grace, maybe I'll pick on you for this because you've taken our new curriculum. Can you talk a little bit about your cluster experience with one cluster, and just in a minute or two share a little bit about how that has been with sort of having the two classes together?
Yeah, definitely. So I said before, I've taken the identity and intersectionality cluster, and the first class that I took was it was just the class that's required for it. And so in that class, we learned kind of all of the basics about identity, racial relations in the United States, and kind of dove deep into all aspects of my personal identity, what makes me who I am, and things like that. And then at the same time, I was taking a different course that stemmed off of that was called Identity and Intersectionality. And it was actually probably one of my favorite courses that I've taken at UMD so far, because it combined what I had learned in the first course about myself and my identity and how that shapes how I interact with the world. And I kind of worked on applying it to the environment. And then we learned about how where people grow up affects them and affects their identity. So it was great because I was kind of able to dive deeper and combine my love for environmental science into what I learned in the first class.
Thank you. I have one direct question about student mentorship. So I was going to ask some of our student leaders to talk about that. Ellie, I know you've been involved in the mentorship program, so can you talk a little bit about the opportunities for students to get involved in that way?
Yeah, I love mentorship, so I love this question. So if you are a first-year student, you have the opportunity to be partnered with a student who is second year or above, and you can pretty much ask them any question. They're there for you, whatever you need from them. Whether you need help with choosing classes or registering for classes or finding clubs. Wow, sorry, my brain is a little out there. I'll tell a personal experience. I actually had a mentee my sophomore year who I had shadow me when she was a high school senior. So the year prior, when I was an honors ambassador, she shadowed me around for a day. Because of that, she chose to come to Maryland, and then she was my mentee, and I helped her join a bunch of student organizations. I helped her find a second major that she really liked, and we still keep in touch. We're in the same program now, and it's been a really fulfilling relationship. And so they're really just there for you. I think peer-to-peer mentorship is super important because there are always questions that you might not be able to ask your advisor, or that you just want to hear what another student is going through. So I highly recommend taking advantage of those opportunities.
Thanks, Ellie. If other students have sort of mentorship stories or experiences they want to talk about, feel free to jump in really quickly. If not, we'll move on. I will say with our peer mentorship program, we have a few different forms of student leadership and mentorship in your first year. So one of those are our peer academic leaders. So every student coming into the program is assigned a PAL or a peer academic leader as a part of their gateway seminar. That is a person that is most likely the first upperclassman student they'll hear from and is available to build community and ask questions. And then we have an additional mentorship program where students can be paired with an upperclassman mentor in their major, or, sort of to have more of that one-on-one experience. And, much like Ellie sort of outlined, that really is up to the mentor and the student about how they build that relationship and get to move that forward. Stephen, can you talk a little bit about study abroad in UH, if there's a capacity for that for students, or if it's involved in the UH curriculum?
Sure, and I might also say a word or two about internships. I've seen some questions about that scroll by. So UH does not currently offer a study abroad program. It is something that we're looking at and maybe introducing down the way, but the Education Abroad office at the university is really wonderful. It's been a challenging couple of years, as you can imagine, for study abroad, but the opportunities that are available there are really vast. And I want to yoke this to something about internships as well, because I've seen some questions also about sort of what distinguishes UH from other programs, and I will say that all of our programs in the college really are fantastic. But one thing that does distinguish UH is that we have full-time faculty in our program. Kaylee mentioned our assistant clinical faculty who literally work in that, will work in the UH Commons that you saw me showing earlier, saw some pictures of earlier. And a big part of their role, a big part of what Vantage Point is about, is equipping you with knowledge, but also with mentorship from the perspective of, from a faculty perspective, that will inform how you approach questions like, should I study abroad? Where would I study abroad if I were to study abroad? How would that dovetail with my major, or with the fact that I want this kind of job out of college? Those kinds of, and likewise internships, that kind of support, not just amongst peers, students, as Ellie and others have been talking about, but also from our faculty, is, I think, a really important aspect of our program.
Thanks, Stephen. We've gotten a few questions about living with UH in the second year, and this was answered in the chat, but I just want to say it out loud for the recording, and in case you're not following along in the chat, that we guarantee housing in the heritage community for incoming first-year students. Our second-year students, generally, they often continue to live together. So did any of the students here continue to live with folks from UH after their first year? Probably, yeah. Ellie, I know you did. Grace, yeah. So folks generally stay with UH folks that they've met on their floors, but sort of scatter throughout campus into semi-suite, different halls and apartment communities on campus or off campus. And as a related note, there's been a few questions regarding the residence halls about single rooms. Our area of campus, so the heritage community does provide single room and double room options for students, but the placement into those spaces is determined through your housing application and with resident life. And so as you fill out your housing application, you would be able to indicate your preferences there. We obviously have a limited amount of both. We're sort of stuck with what we have. And so questions about sort of that availability within the community could be directed to resident life, and they'll be able to give you some more information about that. And lastly, I did get a question about the ability to live off campus in your first year or to commute, and we definitely welcome that. We have quite a few students who choose to commute to campus, whether from an off-campus apartment or from home, and engage in our curriculum and our leadership positions and our programs and activities. So that is definitely an option. Stephen, we do have a question about acceptance into the UH program. So if there is anything that students should know about their application process in order to be more likely to be accepted into UH. And I just don't want to breeze past that question.
Sure. So, and I should also invite our admissions team from the college, Dr. Jenny Lang or Chantel Smith, to chime in here as well. But we are in some ways, we do differ from other programs in the fact that we're very ecumenical, broad tent, kind of big tent kind of program. I would say, and so we welcome students with all majors, with all kinds of backgrounds. I would say that if there's a characteristic that we particularly like to see, it's a kind of curiosity. I think one of the things that characterizes our students, and the students who really get the most out of our program, are the students. Now I can't remember who mentioned it. Maybe it was you, Grace, about taking. Well, no, actually, sorry, it wasn't you, Grace. You were talking about identity and intersectionality. Somebody was talking about a course that required them to exercise. I can't now remember who that was. Was that you, Ellie? Or no, sorry, was that you, Morgan?
That was me.
Yeah. So it's a really kind of magical opportunity these 2 years to get outside of your major, and often to get outside of your comfort zone. And it takes a certain kind of willingness to say, you know what, like, I have no earthly idea what that is about, but it sounds intriguing enough that I want to explore that. I want this kind of experience that I've never had. The landscape of opportunities at a major research university like Maryland is so vast compared to just about any high school you might be coming from, that we really welcome students who say, you know what, that's for me. Like, I'm going to lean into that. I'm going to go find something that engages me, that may just be a one-off. It may be something that I don't pursue further, or maybe, just maybe, and I think this often happens, it's the way I find out about an internship or a pre-professional opportunity, or it's the way I find out about what turns out to be a major or a minor that I had no idea coming in was going to engage me. So if it were me answering this question, I would say I particularly welcome signs of that kind of curiosity, signs of that courage. That's really going to serve you well in a program like ours.
We got a private question about how far UH housing will be from classes. That I can just very quickly mention that some of your University Honors classes would be in that University Honors Commons area, which will be right next to the residence halls. But the Heritage community is located on North Campus, with a few other of the main communities that first year students are located in on campus. So if you take a map of campus, sort of that North Campus housing area is where the Heritage community is located. I've actually been doing class visits this week, so I can tell you that almost all of the classes for UH, at least this semester, are accessible from that area in no more than a 10 to 15 minute walk. I have walked it many times this week, and I'm sure folks here that lived, Hagerstown is right next to our Heritage community, have made that walk as well. So any thoughts on that for students who have been doing it? Is it pretty accessible for getting to class? I saw some nods, so I'll take that as a response. Okay.
I'd say it depends where. It's all accessible. The amount of time it's going to take from your dorm to where your class is might depend on what program you're in, obviously what building your class is in. It's North Campus is a little closer for STEM majors, tends to be. But I, as a non-STEM major, really, I walk pretty fast and I can make it to class in like 10 or 15 minutes in most cases. And you can also plan your class schedule around where you want your classes to be. So maybe your 8 a.m. in Susquehanna is not going to be it. I know I dropped that class because it was too far. And you have that flexibility.
Am I right, Ellie, that there's a function on Testudo that allows you to map distances? If I'm not mistaken, that's there. So you can, as you say, when you schedule, you can see what the distance is going to be. And if it's going to be, 15 minutes is going to push it, then,
Yeah, the course registration service that we use will warn you if you do not have enough time to get from class to class. So you're not going in blind. And as I said, when you're registering for classes the first time, you'll probably be at orientation, but you can absolutely reach out to any of your mentors or any upperclassmen students, and they can give you the inside scoop on how long it actually takes to get from class to class. because sometimes Google Maps will tell you something and it'll be shorter or it'll be uphill and you will not be expecting that hill. And it is a bit brutal. So definitely ask your mentors about that.
Yeah, and I will say the Heritage community has some fantastic both indoor and outdoor bike storage for folks who are asking some questions about bikes. I will really quickly, we had a few questions about the UH experience after the first year, and just wanted to say that a lot of students are involved very actively in their sophomore year. You can participate, you're in your house for all of your 4 years and beyond, much like you're in the honors college. Many of our sophomores, juniors, and seniors participate and come to a lot of our activities, and we're pretty welcoming. So, folks continue to come, even some of them after they've received their citation. And we have about 120 students who are involved in student leader positions right now. We expect that to continue to increase. So a lot of folks volunteer as mentors, as members of the board or the Student Life Council, and stay really, really actively involved with University Honors. So there's lots of ways to stay engaged and lots of ways to continue to be a part of the house program, and also University Honors as a whole. I think we are almost at time. Go ahead.
Kaylee, can I jump in and answer a couple of questions that I see about the preferencing and switching programs? So first, someone asked about, do we have to apply for UH, or we're talking about applying for UH? To be clear, we're asking you to submit a preference form. You are not applying. You've already done the application. We know you're fantastic. So we're asking you to submit a preference form to tell us which of our programs you are most interested in joining. We have 8 programs. We're asking you to list at least 5 and tell us why you are interested in those programs. We will figure out what program we are able to place you in. We try to get students in their first preference as often as possible. If not their first, then their second. We do occasionally have to go down to 3rd or 4th, because if you've preferenced programs that are more competitive in terms of space, then we may have to move to a different program. University Honors is the largest program, so there are the most spaces in University Honors. So that is one thing. And then someone asked about when they will find out. We will be releasing the LLP invitations around, I think, in the first couple weeks of March. So you will find out which of the living learning programs you will be in before you have to make a decision about whether or not you're going to enroll at the University of Maryland. And now there's a question I see, how many people will be accepted into UH in 2022? We usually try to yield a class of just under 500. So that is our goal, is to get 500, just under 500 students enrolled in UH. Obviously, we will invite more students than that. I don't know what that number is off the top of my head, but it's certainly more than 500. But we are definitely trying to get well-balanced classes, and every single program, has a specific yield goal. And so we have to balance where we're able to place students. And there was also a question about transferring programs. Sorry, if you don't get into your first preference program, can you switch? You may email us. You'll email us at Honors Admissions. We will see if it is possible. But because when we invite students to programs, we are inviting the number that we were able to invite, which is more than the number we're able to actually yield. We are not often able to make those switches. We hope that this is why we want you to be very intentional and very thoughtful about what programs you list. We have 8 fantastic programs. And so we hope that there is more than one that you are interested in, and we will do our best to get you into the highest program we can. If you enroll at the University of Maryland, join us in the fall, or in a program, decide that it really isn't the right fit for you, we do have an opportunity for students to apply to transfer programs. So you would apply in the 2nd semester of your freshman year, and if approved, you would start the new program with the next year's freshman cohort. So you would essentially be starting that curriculum over. So you would start that in your sophomore year. So that is a possibility. You can transfer programs, you can switch programs. There is a process for it. The process varies at what time we're talking about. We do want you to find a program that you feel at home in. I think I covered all of the questions that were logistical.
Can I just, because I know we're running short on time, but can I, it strikes me how many of these questions, how many are in some ways addressed, if only indirectly, through the activity we've been engaged in this week. I mentioned earlier that this is an important week for us. Every year we call it UH Week, and we engage in all kinds of activities and announcements and contests and giveaways and all of that. And I think you can get a real glimpse, in a way, of life in UH by not only logging onto our website and coming back in a couple of days when we make a few more updates, but also paying attention to our social media right now. Instagram in particular, I think, is a good thing to look at. You'll see student testimonials, you'll see information about things that have been going on this week, plans for the coming year or whatnot. So get a glimpse of life in the program that way. I think a lot of your questions will be addressed there as well. Thank you, Kaylee. Any other questions that we need to take up while we're still here? Well, it's been great to see so many of you turn out tonight. We're really excited about the coming year. Obviously, it's going to be a kind of milestone year for us in the program, and it would be great to welcome you all to UH next year. I see a hand up. Is it Parth?
Yes, sir. Hi. I just had a quick question. So I know a few students who are there, I think, in their third year at UH right now. So if I get into UH, can I specifically request like a senior student to be my mentor?
I'm going to kick that to you, Kaylee.
Yeah, definitely. There's a preferencing form when you request a mentor, and you're able to indicate if sort of your preference of whether having someone in your major, or sort of there's some spaces for you to put information like that. If you'd prefer to have someone that was an upperclassman student versus a sophomore, you could drop that in that form, and we'll do our best to place folks with a mentor that fits their needs.
Thank you.
All right. Well, as I say, great to see you all, and look forward to seeing you in the fall, hopefully.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Again, these recordings will be on our website within the coming days, so stay tuned for that. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Have a good night.